Hey, what is going on, guys? Happy Sunday to you. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. We've got Jonathan back. Good to see you, brother. It's been a few weeks. He's been busy. And we've got, of course, Ryan. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Hope you guys are doing well. What have you guys been up to this past weekend?
Subwoofers. Yay.
Nice.
Yay.
Is this the time?
Yeah, this is the time.
They don't waste any time. We will definitely be talking about a really cool and super inexpensive. I mean, it doesn't get any cheaper for home theater than this deal. And hopefully we won't wipe them out tonight with your orders.
I think it's worth it. There's definitely a possibility.
What's funny, though, is this sale comes up, I think, literally every single year. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I kind of get the feeling Jonathan orders them every year.
You're right. 2017, they started doing it. And I think it's actually a couple times a year.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah,
super
prices
a
have gone
couple
up.
times a year. I haven't seen it come back
Yeah,
up.
if you look at slickdeals.net, that pops up every once in a while.
I'm gonna look at
funny, man.
Does Camel do Best Buy? I'm going to find out.
I think so,
man.
Get some pricing history here.
Well, welcome, guys. Let me say hi to some folks in the chat. Gravely, good to see you, buddy. So I just wanted to say thank you for your contribution to our community. Your positivity is what is needed in the world right now. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate the kind words. We try to be as positive as we can, just bringing joy, hope, fun, to the hobby space. There's too much negativity in the world, and you are totally right, man. If we can keep that positive, that is definitely what we're about. Don, good to see you. Vikings in the house. What does he say? These are what I have under my couch on the Boss system. Very cool. We're going to talk about that. Some different ways, different applications you can use these inexpensive subwoofers, and they'd be great for a Boss setup, Hover Boss, Hover Easy, any of those. Jonathan is back, man. Christian's excited for you to be here. So super cool. Who else we got? We got Andrew's in the house. Chris is here. Sorry, man. Chris has got jury duty. Titus, what is up, man? Titus is a local here. I've been to his house. He was one of my first home theater tours over Tampa, and he's since moved. So Titus, I still need to get over to see your new setup, man. I'd love to hang out with you and connect with you again. It's been a while. All right, we're definitely going to be talking about that. Honestly, I've got a link to it down in the description. It's not an affiliate link or anything, just over on Best Buy. So you can definitely check that out. Got some folks from Canada. Appreciate you. AV Nuts here. Super cool, man. Got a lot of folks in the chat already. So number one, kind of what we do here on the Sunday Night Live is we'll have one topic of discussion. Tonight, we're going to be talking about just a really incredible Youthman deal in a subwoofer that JBL has right now. The sale's going on. We'll also talk a little bit about, I'm going to throw this on you guys, your kind of like your wish list for your wish list for Black Friday. So if there's anything you've got going on there, but then also if you guys have questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat now. We'll star them, and then we'll answer those after we talk about that main topic. So with that said, man, let's just go ahead and jump into it. So before we talk about that one, let's just go ahead and start with this question. What's on your Black Friday shopping list? Let us know in the chat what you're shopping for this year. Is it TVs? Is it AVRs, speakers, subwoofers? Fellas, Ryan, Jonathan, anything on particular on your Black Friday? Do y'all even go Black Friday shopping? Let's start with that. Do you get out
these subwoofers, evidently?
Well, yeah, but I mean, do you physically like going out?
I think it's fun. I enjoy. I mean, it's fun to go out with my wife and make fun of everybody for doing it, and then I'm inadvertently making fun of myself for also doing it. I don't know that there's really anything on my list.
Yeah,
all this deals feel like they started already. So I don't know that there's really Black Friday even really exists anymore. It's more like holiday. I was gonna say Friday, but that didn't make sense.
Yeah. Mike says he's shopping for the X4700H, the Denon. Super cool, man. Chris says, dude, I avoid it like the plague. So Jessica and I started a tradition. Goodness, it was probably when we first got married. At that time, we didn't have any money, but we like to go out Black Friday shopping. And so we'd buy certain things, nothing real big, but really, really inexpensive things, trying to get those door busters. And then over time, man, it just started changing. They started doing them on the evening of,
Right.
and I'm like, man, that's kind of weird, because we celebrate Thanksgiving with our family, and we always went shopping though, and mostly just for fun. We didn't care if we got any deals. If we did, that but we would go out, but it just kind of felt like, man, now we're feeling rushed. And then they started doing it even earlier, and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. And now, of course, we've got a lot of online deals, which definitely makes it great, and that way you don't have to interfere with your family time. So I don't think there's anything necessarily on my shopping list for Black Friday. We did ask our kids to Jessica's kind of trying to get creative. She says, usually they'll write like their Christmas wish list, and she's like, this year we want to make it fun. Let's make a PowerPoint. No lie. So they're gonna make a PowerPoint on my laptop and take it to the theater room.
You can tell she's a teacher.
I saw Ryan's expression.
All right, class, we're gonna make a PowerPoint.
But here's the thing though. What's kind of funny with our family, we try to make memories. Even like our kids are 23, 21, 19, and 16, and we still do an Easter egg hunt every year here at our house.
Oh, my mom still does it, and I'm 35.
It's crazy. But what we've done is we've just changed it. So there's little slips of paper in them on certain ones, and it'll say like $1, $5. Some of them have a 10. So that's like the golden egg kind of thing. So our kids are running around as adults, man, trying to, and then what we do is, it's funny with technology, we tally them all up and we just send them Venmo right there. It's pretty funny. So got to get creative, man. Just have some fun with that. But Jessica and I usually go out, and I just got a text yesterday from my middle daughter, and she said, hey Dad, are you going Black Friday shopping? I said, yeah, I'll go. You want to go? She's like, yeah, let's do it. So to me, it's just more about spending time with the family than it is about necessarily, finding something or getting that great deal. But we'll look through the chat here. Looks like new AVR. Cool. Got some stereo integrity. Dude, stereo integrity. I had a chance to hear those. Man, they absolutely rock. I've heard the big, 24s? One guy had 4 24s, and one gentleman, the actual owner of the company, has a 24 in the back of his Audi, and it's custom. The subwoofer hangs out the bottom, and it's just open. It's pretty crazy. A lot of physical media, definitely. If you guys are into physical media, 4K discs are super, super cheap. A lot of deals going on.
Those have definitely started those media deals.
Yeah. So definitely take a look for that. I know a lot of guys online. I don't get into like looking for great deals and sharing those on my channel. But Stop the FOMO, I know he's putting a lot of content out there. Hey, here's a great deal on a TV, great deal on a TV. So definitely check out his channel, and others as well. Seeing what we got here. How much money can I spend? Cool. We got projector, paradigm, rears. It's like John's doing quite a bit of shopping there. Super cool, man. Just seeing what you guys are buying here. There you go. All right, sweet, man. So Jonathan, anything on your list?
I usually pick up a few physical Blu-rays and so forth. This is a good time of year to buy a NAS and hard drives if you guys are into renting your media.
Yeah.
They almost always QNAP and Synology have good Black Friday deals or Cyber Monday deals. And so keep that in mind if you're in that market. And then drives, you can get 18 terabyte drives or 16 terabyte drives for really cheap around this time of year too, usually.
Well, both of my hard drives on this computer are pretty much full. One I use for my web design business, and the other one's for Youthman. So all my 4K videos. Dude, when you start editing in 4K and you're cranking out like 2 videos a week, and then I'm chopping up some of these live streams.
Sure. Fills it up.
I do. I have to constantly go in and just delete old footage. I usually just keep the final exported file, but like all the talking head and even some of the B-roll, a lot of times I'm like, if I probably won't think I'll do this, like I'll need this footage, I just delete it. I'm not one for trying to back up everything, but definitely, man. So picking up some hard drives, whether you're doing a Plex server or you're just your personal computers, having to back that stuff up and just having some extra storage.
I'm kind of a sucker for slick deals, so I'll keep an eye on it. And maybe Ryan and I will pick up another machete or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Another machete.
Mine hasn't come in yet.
Mine hasn't either.
Oh
on the Discord channel, we kind of share good deals. And the other day it was like a machete that's normally like $35.
My wife saw that on the shipping list. She's like, "Why did you buy a machete? Was this a mistake?"
No, next to nothing. It was like
my initial answer was Jonathan made me, and she just looked at me like, "A man can make you buy a machete." I'm like,
he's not invited over anymore.
That is hilarious. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about this deal. So right now, going on at Best Buy. Check this out. So
it does look like they're sold out for the time being, but there are lots of open boxes. So if anybody's looking to buy them, you can add a ton of the open boxes to your cart, and they should ship.
And I saw on the AVS forum thread that they come in and out of stock for a little while, so you might even
maybe
keep an eye on the site.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they were predicting that there would be another run of them on Black Friday either way. So even if they're sold out now for good, they should. And then
kind of every day, maybe just check if you're interested in them. Check them out every day. So you're looking at $130 subwoofer, $100 off. That's a crazy deal, man.
$130 subwoofer, I'd say.
$30.
I think Amazon has them for like $70 right now. Okay. So I don't know that they're really 130.
So that's their MSRP.
Yeah.
but either way, $30
well worth
holy
it.
cow, man. I mean,
they're decent little stuff. They have a nice native frequency response. They're 1,000-watt peak, 250-watt RMS, and there's some videos out there. I think someone posted in the Discord channel, the M-Wave Discord channel today, showing some excursion videos. They do all right for
Yeah, so this isn't going to like win any competitions,
I don't know if you put enough of them, maybe.
But I think that's the key. I think Life of Bliss, Kyle Bliss, I think he said he bought like 12 of these either last year or the year before, something like that. He's like, I don't even know exactly what I'm gonna do with them, but they're so cheap.
He's still done anything with them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So it's funny, man, when those Youth Man deals come and I've bought things just because it was a crazy good deal. And I didn't even need it. So you may find yourself looking at this going, all right, for $30, I'll find a use for it. So let's talk about that. Typically you're looking at a car audio subwoofer, and most people wouldn't really maybe think about, using that in a home theater setup. But what are some good applications for this subwoofer? It's a budget subwoofer, decently capable. So what are some great applications for this? What could somebody use?
Most of us use it for is Boss.
Okay. So what is Boss?
It stands for bass on seat subwoofer, right, Jonathan? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to. That's as good as anything. That's not what they would say, but I think that's good. And I don't even remember what it is. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay. So while you're doing that, I'm going to pull this down, and then let's
but what I'm talking about with Boss, just to give people an idea, is you're effectively mounting these directly to your seat or under your seat using, like, I have plywood cutouts that I just cut, and then you mount
kind of see like right here
to them, and then it fires into your seat or under your seat.
Check this out. These guys are actually using that same JBL setup right there.
Yep. That's primarily what these are used for. What a lot of the guys on AVS will get these for is exactly this, and they do a phenomenal job at this.
I'm going to go to his thread here. See what he's got. So
they're saying baffle open sub shaker is kind of what the coined phrase is.
But that just confuses people.
So here's kind of a visual. So you've got these mounted on a piece of plywood.
Now, Jonathan, you're actually firing the woofer into your seat. You're not using it the other way, correct?
Right. There's different ways to mount it, different ways to attach it, and there's a lot of variations on this. There's a tactile thread that's thousands of posts long and many different varieties. Mine are direct mount, so they don't have like the inner tube. Some of these things you're seeing have the inner tube you see, and then the driver cone fires into that, and it kind of makes the air against the carpet or the floor make the inner tube have a little bit of bounce. So that's
like this guy's using those kind of feet that you showed us at your house.
Well, Jonathan's still using them, but Jonathan's actually using them how I'm going to use them, and instead of firing into the floor, the woofer fires directly into the chair.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I thought I was showing you guys this, but I wasn't. I'm sitting here like pointing to different things. It's on the same. It's not showing my screen. It's showing my tab. So let me show you this. There we go. Let me go back up here. So this was that thread. So you can see He mounted a piece of plywood down here on the bottom of his couch.
I think we have to show people the helicopter video.
The helicopter. Do we have that?
Jonathan, do you know what video I'm talking about?
Are you talking about where the seats are bouncing like crazy?
Yes.
Okay, if you can find it, drop a link into the.
I think it's one of the top videos in that thread. I also put something in the private chat for price tracking for these. These didn't go on sale last year.
Oh, interesting. So I see what they've done. So they've mounted this piece of wood to the bottom of the seats. The seats are kind of right here. And then they've added those little kind of squishy cups.
It's in hi-fi, 20 durometer, those little round half dome things are kind of consistency between a gummy bear and a rubber band type thing, and they really move.
Yeah. So then that's sitting on top of this. So as those subwoofers fire, that whole, your couch is kind of bouncing up and down. So definitely check out. There's 3 different types. There's Boss, Hover Boss, and Hover Easy, or Hover Ease. I'm not sure the proper way to say it. But they all kind of have a little bit different
feel.
Feel, and a different kind of fundamental way that they add bass and tactile to your seats. So to me personally, like the ones that I've heard and experienced, I mean, they'll rattle your teeth. I mean, they're violent. They can be violent. But it's a different feel. My brain always tells me that they're down there versus just being part of that equation and part of that experience. So to me, it's always taken me kind of out of that experience, but there are a lot of guys that love them and use them. And so, if you ever get a chance, but here's a great way to, I mean, shoot, it costs you $100, $200.
Remember, you got to have an amplifier to be able to drive them. A couple $100.
Yeah. So, I mean, but it's an inexpensive thing. And then think about this. If you end up selling them to a guy, you could sell them easily for what you got in them. Yeah. Even if they're going to use them for car audio. So,
and that's, I think, precisely why what you just hit at, Michael, that Jonathan and I use them, or I'm going to be using them with driver facing up instead of down, because I don't want to have my brain think there's something underneath me. I want it to be more of a natural effect and not go after the tactile. Feel like I'm riding a bike over gravel.
Well, you got a ton of tactile bass in your room anyway. So why would you add that to your setup? I mean, you've got massive subwoofers, you've got near field subwoofers, and now you're wanting to add Boss.
I feel like it fills in the gaps. It just makes everything more cohesive when you're using this with transducers, with these woofers underneath, with near field, with big subs. Everything just congeals. It blends together seamlessly. And I think it also offloads the need for trying to push your far field subs so hard. You're able to get that same effect or some of that effect up close, and you're not feel like you're shaking the room apart. So
absolutely.
It's all about using things in moderation and not going overkill with everything.
Yeah. I think Jonathan, at your home, what's really cool is Jonathan can kind of turn off individual elements of his home theater. So he can turn off the bass shakers, the butt kicker. Are you using butt kickers?
Butt kicker advance.
Okay. So he's got the butt kicker advance. So he can kind of toggle those on and off. And he's even got 3 presets, I think, using the mini DSP 3 or 4.
4 of them.
So you can kind of see, okay, here's entry level. Okay, that's cool. Here's number 2. All right, I'm definitely feeling that. Here's number 3. All right, my my teeth are starting to rattle. Here's number 4. My intestines are starting to rearrange, So, but it's cool to be able to see what, kind of like what Ryan is saying, how each one adds to the experience. And like with anything, I've always shared with you guys, you can overdo anything. You can boost up your surrounds too high, and then it takes you out of that experience. You can crank up your subwoofers too loud, and then your brain is always going, oh man, that bass was awesome. Or, those types of things. You don't ever want it to pull you out of that experience. You want it to be one cohesive equation, one cohesive system. And so when you're able to dial it in, like you said, having each one of those, they kind of fill in areas that the other ones don't. So that's definitely super cool. Could they use these for near field?
If you stacked them 2 or 3 high and you had them real close, you could. You remember with the near field sealed, you want them real close proximity to your back. So it's a 12-inch
driver. 12-inch. I got you.
You gotta have them even closer.
So you probably wouldn't be able to use. You'd probably be better on a couch since you're not reclining. You could get them closer.
Or building a box that's at an angle, and so that when you recline, it comes right down to it and it's close. You know,
but then you have to be reclined every.
Or being one of the crazies and direct attaching them to the back of your chair.
Yes.
So we did have a guy. I went up there and Sheldon did that. He literally mounted some of these to. He had them on the floor, but he also had them mounted right to the back of the seat.
Sheldon.
I'm like, good golly, man. Now, that is one that will oh man, that was an experience for sure.
There's some videos in that our StreamYard you got to pull up.
Okay, let me look at here. Perfect. All right, private. Holy cow. Yeah, there's a few.
So that first one,
all of these?
Okay. Yeah, but just do them one at a time. We'll talk to them. We can just do a real quick short clip of each. So this first one is a 5 hertz test tone clip into one of these JBLs to kind of show you what kind of excursion it can do. Nothing terribly exciting, but just to kind of see.
That's the pricing history that I clicked on. Sorry about that. Let's go here. Open. Okay, so let's pause that. All right, so this is going to be Excursion of that subwoofer. Boom, boom. All right, here we go.
So it moves pretty decent, right? It's for $30. It's not bad at all.
Cool.
You see, if you had that on an inner tube and that airspace is bouncing up and down, that's how you can get your chair moving. So that's what Michael's been talking about with the Boss. Yeah. And if you don't have an inner tube, you just have it at direct mount, which is the way I'm doing it, the way Ryan's going to do it. Then that cone movement, as it's free air moving like that, is just kind of doing that tactile energy directly into your rear end as you're sitting on your chair. And you dial it into taste, right? You don't have to have it high. You just dial it into what you like.
Well, the third way, too, is people do it reverse like you do with the inner tube without the inner tube.
Correct. And you just have those Hudson Hi-Fi feet bouncing.
Yep. Yep.
So now go to the next one if you don't mind. And that's the one that Ryan was talking about. Scroll down to, well, you can start here.
Oh, is that not that one?
No, that's fine. There's a lot of them in here that are fun, but this is a good one.
Can y'all see that okay? Holy cow, man.
So scroll down to the laptop one if you see it a little bit. I think it might be in the second post.
Like playing on a loop. All right, so there's another one, a laptop down here.
Yeah, I think it might be the second post. A little bit further, and then in that laptop one, a little bit further. Go in about 20 seconds. A little bit further. Sorry, a little bit further. There you go. About 20 seconds, maybe 15 seconds in. And this is violent. This is what Michael was talking about. Not yet. It gets violent.
Yeah.
Where Michael's like,
so those are pretty low free. Okay.
Oh my God.
You need a seatbelt for your
lap. Man, yeah, that's like an amusement park ride right there.
Yeah,
when you have the Jeeps that are driving and you're getting shaken everywhere.
Oh my golly!
hope your hard drive's a solid state drive and not a spinner, because you might just wreck the spindle.
So how did you ruin your hard drive? It was base in my room.
Hey, does that void the warranty?
I would think so.
Imagine trying to explain that to Western Digital.
Oh my goodness, that's nuts. All
right, so then the last one here that I've got for you is what you could do, and this is Ryan alluded to this earlier too. If you think about this, guys. Those are $30 a piece. You could buy 32 of them for $1,000, or 64 of them for $2,000. Yeah. Now, what does 64 of those in a line look like? Well, Ryan, pull up this, or I guess Michael's running the controller. Run this, and let's show the audience what a wall of subwoofers can do.
So how many are there?
I don't even know. This is probably closer to 100, but this you could do this in your house if you had enough of these things. So push play and watch this lady do hair tricks outside.
I'm trying to turn
the buffering right at the wrong time. That's wild, isn't it?
And that is, I mean, she's what, 30, 40 feet from these things? Oh my goodness, man. Yeah. Okay.
So that would be called, if you made a wall of base, like say you made your front wall, nothing but 12s, floor to ceiling, left to right. Wow. And you just powered them by a couple like lab group and clone amplifiers or whatever you had. You'd need a lot of power. You need 240 volt, and you'd probably need 30 or 50 amps times however many amps you had. But you could, those are called an SBA, a subwoofer or single bass array.
Yeah.
And the wave is all in uniform, right? It's coming across. I mean, there's other videos out there. If you look up wall of bass on YouTube, you'll find a bunch of these things.
Yeah.
There are videos where they're moving 55-gallon drums over cobblestone down the street because the bass is just so much power. Just like you saw those hair tricks there. And yes, you could do that inside your house. And no, you don't have to have it that loud. But the price on it's ridiculous, right? 64 of them for $2,000.
Yeah.
You could do it behind your AT screen and on your front wall. It'd be an amazing setup. And to my knowledge, no one's done that, and they should. Someone should.
Jonathan, you ripped your screen off the wall.
Ryan says he's trying to talk the wife into that idea. She's not budging though.
Oh, Ryan, we'll help. What do we got to do? Send an email, write a card.
That's right, man. That is hilarious.
We got a super chat.
Very cool. Let me pull that up here. How long will all those subs last being played that loud? Who knows, man?
I don't know either. But I think you wouldn't have to play them that loud, and they'd have plenty of headroom because there'd be so many of them.
Yeah. Let me go back up here. Did we star that super chat?
I did. It's by Gimpy G Gaming.
Okay, here we go. All right. Usually it's in a different color. So cool. Gimpy G Gaming, appreciate the $10 super chat. I'm a disabled streamer whose home burned out. Oh man, are you kidding me? Holy
Live.
wow. Like while you were streaming? Whoa, that is crazy. So replacing everything. I'm truly sorry to hear about that, man. Do you know a Colorado installer who could help me with a 7.2.4 system? Also Marantz 50, man, that's a beautiful unit, or Denon 3800. Man, as far as a installer in Colorado, I don't have any. I really don't know a lot of installers. I know just
you're not that far from me. You're 8 hours. I don't know where you are in Colorado.
Yeah,
it's a big state.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, reach out to Ryan. Who knows, man? He may be able to jump on a plane or take a drive over there. Where is he at? So shoot Ryan an email, ryan@ascendav.net. Man, dude, that is crazy. I could not imagine. Hopefully, I mean, of course, that's always horrible when you lose things, material things that we worked so hard for and built over time. But definitely, man, the most important thing is you are safe, and hopefully your friends and or your family members are safe, and if you got any pets. So, man, that is scary, dude. That is super, super scary. So, yeah, definitely reach out to Ryan, and that'd be cool, man. Go over there and help him out.
I can probably do something. You're an 8.5-hour drive, which isn't horrific.
Yeah.
So shoot me out of
Colorado. So that sounds pretty nice too. Right?
I think Ryan's he's wanting an excuse to go snowboard.
I'm already going to Colorado in the middle of February, so I'm already going to be out at Winter Park. So
all right. Super cool, man. Okay, cool. Gimpy said they did all get out, man.
Good.
Man, I just couldn't imagine, man. So, ooh, that's scary stuff, man. But
glad you're okay.
Yeah, for
material things suck, but it is nice to
know
that
same thing like with
okay.
car accidents, man. It's like, you hate doing it, but it's like, man, if your family's okay and the people involved are okay, cars can be replaced, vehicles can be fixed. It's the lives that really are irreplaceable. So, but yeah, definitely glad you're okay. Super cool. Any other thoughts on the Black Friday deals or the subwoofers? I know we jumped into a couple of thoughts there.
You might link that thread in the chat, Michael, since you can do it for the tactile response thread, because there's just thousands of posts and ideas for these guys to check it out.
Let's see. That would be the AVS, the tactile response thread. There we go.
That's right.
Copy that. I'll drop that in the chat for you guys.
We should find the electrocution chair one, Ryan.
What? Oh, I did see that. That thing looked weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of sketchy. Oh my god.
Crucified through sound.
Wow.
I'll see if I can dig that up at some point here.
That's nuts, man.
I think the biggest thing with these is just that it doesn't take a lot of money to get huge immersion increases in your theater. I mean, if you know what to look for and the deals, you can get a lot out of not a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the great thing is I used to think you had to be rich to, to have a home theater, to build a nice setup and the reality is there's just so many different ways that you can, I mean, you can sell kidneys, you can sell, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend that. But no, literally, like we can sell stuff in our garage that's been sitting there for years and you're not using it. Maybe you got an old dirt bike that you're like, I'm probably never going to ride that thing. Sell it, buy you a subwoofer with it, buy it, put it towards something that will get more use, or find these great, incredible deals like these subwoofers or Youth Man deals or the used market, open box. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to save. DIY is a huge savings. You know, whether you're building your own screen like I did in my theater room, or your own riser, doing the work yourself instead of hiring a contractor to come in and run your cabling, man, get your butt up in the attic or send your son up there. You know, you just tell him where to go and where not to step, you know.
And tell him he gets kicked out if he falls through the ceiling.
Exactly, man. I've seen too many videos online of that, man. Guys be walking like, you okay,
why were
bro?
they recording? That's always my question. Like, why are you recording?
I don't know. Who knows, man? Sometimes that stuff is rigged. Like
oh, absolutely.
Okay, this is going to go viral. Just don't kill yourself. We'll put the table underneath and that'll break his fall. You know.
Any other big sales that you know of, Jonathan? I'm trying to think of. There was that Behringer iNuke sale not too long ago.
That was a good one. You know, TVs are a good deal this time of year too.
Oh, 100%. Most people will. Yeah. And like, that's why I mentioned like, Stop the FOMO. He does a great job at reviewing TVs and kind of giving you his, you know, best assessment of what to buy and why to buy. And when those deals come along, he's been posting a lot of those. I see them on my feed. So Chris, you can't just throw out like these. I know who you're talking about, but drop it in the chat if you want to. So that was pretty cool. He had a chance to meet a quote home theater enthusiast, and that person sent him a really cool little care package. It was pretty nice of him, man. Super, super cool. See, he's like being all winky face. So I won't share it, but Chris, if you want to share it in the chat, then we can.
Yeah, I won't share that either.
Yeah. Always respect people's, you know, confidence when they send, or confidentiality when they send me something like that. So, oh, dude, Weber said he fell through the ceiling once. It sucked. I couldn't imagine.
I thought he said scared my arm, but scarred my arm makes more sense. Like, how do you scare your arm?
That was crazy. There you go. I set my son up there. He's now 32.
I'm glad he didn't die.
Hopefully he's been sending him some food. That's funny.
He's still up there.
Still stuck.
Jake Cameron says he's rocking some Dayton Audio L Cheap 15s, 2 of those. Super cool. See, we got a lot of you guys are hitting up the budget stuff, and I love it, man. Amazing how much you can get for the same budget today compared to what was available just 20 years ago.
I think real talk, if somebody bought like 64 of those things for $2,000 and did what we're talking about with an SBA array just in the front wall, I think they'd literally have, if not the best system on AVS as far as bass, one of the best. And it's because you'd have incredibly smooth frequency response to the room because you'd have so many drivers.
Yeah.
It'd cover multiple rows. It'd all be time aligned. It's coming from a single destination, just like that hair trick video. That's, you know, that's what you need. And how much can you, I mean, we've seen guys on AVS forum. There's a guy that has 12 24s on his front row, you know, and he was like home theater of the month. And that's $20,000 or more that he spent on, and this would be $2,000 it would be right up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this isn't like just a little hack joke thing. It could make an incredible system when you have that many drivers and they're not having to work that hard.
Yeah, for sure. So here's a comment for you. Jeffrey says, thanks, Ryan, for the Buckeye amp order hookup this week.
Yeah.
Super cool, man.
Glad we could make it happen.
Yeah. We talked about some amplifiers, 2 weeks ago, I think.
Buckeye usually comes up like every week, it seems like now.
No. Yeah. I mean, well, we kind of spent some time talking about that a couple of weeks ago. So Jay Cameron, you ask him, why does FOMO, wear the white gloves? It's just part of his deal. He also has glasses that don't have prescriptions in them. They're just glasses. They just look cool. It's just part of his look. And
he does touch a lot of TVs, so it kind of makes sense.
We had a chance to hang out with FOMO at our M-Wave event in Kansas City, and he's just super, super kind, man. Just such a humble guy, but super knowledgeable too. But he's a great guy. I know the first time I saw him, I'm like, this is a little weird, man. This dude's dancing around with the gloves and, pretty high energy, but he's definitely a super great guy. So definitely check out Stop the FOMO. He's got a great channel. Let's see what else. Cool. Some folks are getting some gaming stuff.
I've seen that the PlayStations are finally coming back in stock. It seems like they're more readily available.
Yeah, I
can't believe those came out like 2 or 3 years ago, though. And people still can't get them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a little wild, man. Looking through some of these comments here.
I think it's time to jump in and answer some questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me just take one more look. Okay, one more thought here. Chad says, I'd rather crawl through an attic instead of threading a 20-foot cable through a 4-inch hole above a basement ceiling. Yeah, running cables is no fun. I've got a video on my channel. I hesitated to run. I had a Monoprice sent me their fiber optic cable, HDMI cables, when I upgraded to 2.1 cables. And I literally had it running from my projector just through the kind of like the porthole in the back of my room. There's no glass there. It's just a square hole down on the ground around the baseboards and then into my cabinet, because I didn't want to climb in the attic, run that cable to find out, okay, it lasted for 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. So I used that thing probably over a year, and I'm like, man, I really need to run that cable, but man, it's so hot in Florida and I don't really have a desire to climb up there. And so I had a friend of mine come down from Alabama, and I was telling him about it. He's like, we don't have to like climb through the attic, right? And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, man. And so he showed me this cool way of even tying a string to it, and that it won't come loose and it doesn't get, he just got like
Michael.
I'm dead. What? I'm dead serious though. I was hesitant of pulling a fiber optic cable. I didn't want to bend it and break it, and
they're not that fragile.
In my brain, I'm thinking it is, but maybe it's not. So, but it was cool, Joe, though. I didn't even have to climb in the attic. We ran into one little snag, but you just kind of had to push it back up, kind of twist the cable a little bit. It found the hole and dropped right in. It was very cool. So I believe so. So Chris has a question. He says, Stop the FOMO coming back to M-Wave. Our last conversation with him, he was all excited about it. And so definitely he very well might be coming back. We'd love to have him a part of it again. He did a great job with the live stream. So super, super cool. All righty. Well, let's go ahead and jump in and answer you guys' questions.
Jonathan, before we go into questions, I do have a question about your setup. What do you think it would be worthwhile to have the 12s mounted underneath your seat in a Boss configuration, even without the near fields?
Yeah, I absolutely do. If you couldn't have near fields, absolutely.
You don't think it would be too locatable? Like knowing that you were getting shot underneath your butt?
No, because I can turn them off all individually, right? I have the near field, I have the Boss direct attach, and I have the butt kicker advance, and I can cycle through them. It's definitely worthwhile just having the Boss direct attach alone. If that's all you can fit, for sure, it's a benefit.
Yeah, I had somebody ask, but I hadn't had mine set up yet, so I couldn't test.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the guys that were over here with Michael, Tony and Nick and Andy, they got to do some of that experimenting, and they all thought it was interesting that they all added their own little kind of unique feel. So yeah. It's definitely worth it.
Cool, man.
All right, now, one thing before you jump into that, look at the StreamYard again. This is the execution chair we were talking about, Michael.
Look at this. Oh, okay, in the chat. All right, private chat. Okay.
And pull that 9435 post up and kind of look at the crazy that happens.
Let me close a couple of these windows. I've got way too many open. All right, let's share this. Boom, boom. That one there.
There. Now, scroll down.
So look at the setup here. So he's got the inner tube here. You got the wood platform here. So what is that? A
ratchet strap. You haven't seen nothing yet.
Oh my golly. Okay, this is getting crazy.
So yeah, he's got the inner tube stuff on the bottom and on the back of the chair. It's not just the bottom.
Goodness, yeah. So right here up by your head. Why would you want it by your head?
Look how
I've seen this chair.
These are butt kicker LFEs.
3, 4, 5, 6 of those.
I think there's
at least on the top
of them. Yeah, I think there's 9 total on that chair.
Goodness gracious. So this is his back right here. There's some under his butt. Oh my goodness, bro.
Reminds me of the syrup scene from Super Troopers. Yeah, this is all this, man.
Oh my goodness, man.
It's wild, isn't it?
That's crazy. So the reality is you can go as extreme as you want in this hobby, man. That's pretty
cool.
Pretty stinking extreme, though. That's funny, dude. So funny. All right, let's go ahead and jump in and answer your questions. So SRW1000 says, I've had 7 of these in the basement for a couple years now. Someday I'll have to open the boxes. A lot of times when you buy these things on sale, you're like, okay, I'll eventually get to them. We'll kind of put them aside. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. You don't want to pass up a good deal like that. You can always build a system around that. And it just gives you more time to plan, you know, whether you're going to do a Boss or Hover Easy, near field subwoofers. So definitely, man, good luck. Hey, pick up 3 more. That'll make it even 10. It's just a good
just
number.
Double up. Go to 14.
Barry C says, if I buy 2 of these, talking about the subwoofers, to eventually serve as built-in subs, front, left, right, for a home theater, can anyone point to some plans for building the enclosures and how best to power them? So for those of you that may be watching this clip from this podcast, we're talking about a 12-inch driver from JBL, super inexpensive. It's like $30 on Best Buy. So what would you, what advice could you give him for that?
I think you'd be fine with just the pre-built enclosures from like Best Buy or Parts Express, in all honesty. Absolutely. Super cheap and virtually no work, and they'll just drop straight in.
Little flat packs from Parts Express.
Well, even the pre-made ones, not even the flat packs.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Like the car base enclosures.
Gotcha.
Amazon and eBay have those pre-made ones for just next to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And then you can buy, if you prefer to build something, if you can build a square box, you can buy a baffle that's got, you know, rounded corners and all that stuff to make it look nice, or double baffle from Parts Express or from some of the different do-it-yourself audio group, that kind of stuff. They can make those front baffles for you. That's the hardest part, you know, cutting the circle out and so forth. You can build a box other than that. So do-it-yourself sound group is the one I was trying to think of. I think they have those front baffles.
So Life of Bliss says he has 16 of those in the boxes, and one day he'll put them to good use as well. Good to see you, Kyle.
Kyle, you got to double that number or triple it, man.
Come on.
Let's do that SBA already.
New theater. Full wall. Let's do it.
That would make a great video for your channel, man.
Yes,
then we can take, you've got that picture of you, or the thumbnail of you lifting the 24-inch sub. We can have you with a forklift pushing the SPA wall up into the wall.
Rip your shorts and paint yourself green.
Kyle is cleaning out like his he's got a big garage kind of area, kind of workshop. Kyle, you could put a killer system out there. I mean, you need something to jam while you're like, you know, working hard out there. I think that's awesome.
He's not working hard enough if his neighbor's 3 miles away, can't hear him.
Yeah.
Right.
Great question, Barry. Appreciate it. Mike Ortiz says, this question is for Jonathan. I ran Odyssey. Don't like the sound. How do you EQ your speakers? What do you use like as target curves? What does that look like for each speaker?
So you might look at a couple things. I personally don't use Odyssey either, as you might know, which is probably why you're targeting me. You can look up what's the name of it? There's a basically a Schroeder frequency. That's what I'm trying to think of. A Schroeder frequency in your room, you can calculate it. There's online tools that give you the formula to calculate it. And you can use the Odyssey app that costs about $20, and you can say, don't EQ above my Schroeder frequency. That's the frequency where room interactions become too variant to really apply EQ in a really effective way. And in my room, it's really low. It's like 115 or 120 hertz. So according to that acoustician's ideas, you shouldn't EQ in my room above 115 or 120 hertz. So if you type in Schroeder frequency and you look it up, you'll see that information. If you just don't want to use it at all, you might just try with the parametric EQs that are built into like a Denon, Marantz, Yamaha, Onkyo. All of them have it. And they might have like 5 or 8 bands of parametric EQ. And try the old trusted and true smiley face EQ. So I put an ever so slight smiley face EQ with parametric EQ on all my speakers. All of them are EQ'd as 1. I don't use Odyssey, but I do have just a hint, like a dB.5 up of bass and a dB.5 up of treble, and then it kind of flattens out. Just because, let's face it, when we were kids and we had little graphic equalizers, everybody did that. Don't lie. Everybody did that.
I did, man.
And so people like it. you know? So I do just a hint of that. I don't want to do too much because you don't want to like take out all the mid-range, but a hint of that and it's tasteful.
And one thing on what he had talked about, Odyssey refers to, I think, as a curtain. So I actually have just a pretty simple video. If you're not familiar with that on the channel, it's this one right here in the middle, pulling back the curtain on Odyssey. So if you just search for Youthman curtain, it'll take you to that video and kind of show you, how do you do that. So basically you're just telling Odyssey, hey, only correct for this frequency and below. Jonathan, what do you normally set yours at? I guess you would, like you said, you pretty much look and see the shoulder frequency of your room. If
I
you
don't have it on now, but I played with it.
If you did that,
I played with it, and I calculated shoulder frequency in my room as that 115 to 120, and I actually adjusted it from there. I tried everything EQ off above 90, EQ above off 120, above 180. I kind of settled on, when I use Odyssey, I have 2 different speaker presets on my Denon. When I use Odyssey, I have the thing set at 180, and I chose that kind of arbitrarily because I prefer a 90 hertz crossover on my speaker to my subs. So I just doubled that. That makes me basically have an extra octave, because a doubling of frequency is an octave. That gives me an extra octave of frequency that's being EQ'd, and Odyssey doesn't EQ anything above that. I use, if you want to use the curtain word, I basically tell Odyssey to stop running at above 180. And this is all kind of subjectivity, right? There's math in there that gets you your shoulder frequency calculation, and then there's some subjective taste, flavor to taste on what you do from there. So experiment. I definitely say experiment. Run Odyssey, do the little app, cut it off at 90. Run Odyssey, do the little app, cut it off at 150. Try 250. And then, you get those kind of bigger numbers, and then dial it in to more like you like from there.
Love it, man. Home Theater Nerd says, can you guys talk about auto EQ mic placement? Do you recommend mic placement up above the seat back or down where your ears would be, with the seat back blocking the rears and reflecting fronts? So I would think that, if you're talking about Odyssey, you're going to need to have the microphone placed. Usually it's at ear level. So are your seat backs higher than your ear level? Typically in my theater room, I'm usually leaning back. And so if I'm in a reclined position, then my ears are, they're accessible to all my speakers. But if you've got speakers kind of to where they're hitting the back of your seat, it really doesn't do you much good to put the microphone in front of your seat if it's not going to be able to hear that. Does that make sense?
But that's where your ears are.
I know, but
I think the other thing you need to worry about is that typically that first microphone placement is the place where room EQ is going to do impulse delay. So if you have that in the wrong place, your delay and impulse is going to be wrong. So it's really important that first position, I think this is true with Odyssey, it definitely is with IRAC. It needs to be in where your ears are. And if your rear speakers are being blocked by the chair, you need to either get a new chair or move your rear speakers.
Raise them up a little bit.
If you can't do that, you're definitely going to want the microphone where your ears are, and then it'll EQ. Just know that if you're EQing for that spot, it's probably going to be wrong for other spots in the room, right? Because,
really wrong.
Yeah. So my biggest suggestion is make it so that your ears have line of sight to that speaker.
Yeah, if you put your mic down low, say your headrest is here, and you put your mic here in front of your speaker, you're going to be getting like reflected sound off the front wall that bounces back more so than from the back, and it's going to be all kinds of crazy for all the other seats or anyone tall in your theater. Yeah, and I don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, so typically, like with Odyssey, it wants you to put them in about 2 foot from that central location. So the very first one, like Ryan said, is going to be where your ears are, kind of right where your head is positioned, that same height in your seat. And then you're going to move that microphone kind of around in like a pattern, and they show you kind of where to place that. And you're going to be within 2 feet of that. But like I said, in my setup, when I move it to behind my head, that's definitely above my seat because my seat's reclined in that position. If you're usually sitting straight up and you've got high back seats, that's not ideal anyway, because like you said, that's blocking some of that rear sound. So it's going to be hard to EQ that anyway.
Can I elaborate on this a little bit?
Yeah, do it.
So in my opinion, and you'll see that all over the place, the 2-foot measurement. It sort of depends on your room size. If you've got a fairly big space, like my room is reasonably big, I don't have to live and die by that 2-foot rule. In fact, Odyssey's doing nothing more than averaging your EQs. And so if you run one sweep, then it's doing the distances and it's doing the SPL matching and it's doing a frequency response capture, right?
Yep.
The second seat through the 8th seat are all just averaging in only the frequency response. It's not averaging in the distances. It's not averaging in the SPLs, just the distances. So if you've got a large room in multiple rows and you want it to be good for all the space, you would want to stay away from any boundaries. You wouldn't want it on the far extreme walls or next to anything. Like if you had a corner seat, like say you had a sectional, you wouldn't want it against the wall. But you certainly don't have to obey the 2-foot rule if your room's big and you want to. It's making a sound bubble. It's averaging those frequency responses and what it's going to apply.
Yeah.
You want it in the middle of the room, and you don't mind if it gets bigger to match that.
See, that's interesting because like it's weird because what is that?
It's Jonathan.
Oh, I was like, I know that was like hearing voices again. No, I'm just kidding.
I got some sort of ad that popped up on AVS forum. Sorry about that.
So it was, so I guess the bottom line is it's really hard to EQ effectively for every single seat in your room because like Jonathan said, in my room, my rear seats are pretty much up against my back wall. So I know they're going to be getting some boundary gain that my front seats aren't getting. The back left seat is in that corner, so it's going to get 2 boundary gains. You got the rear wall and the side wall. So that's going to be, it's always kind of hard. For me, honestly, now this is selfish, but most time it's me and my theater room. And so I pretty much calibrate for me. I ain't worried about them, but I don't move around a whole lot in there.
Yeah. And that's totally fine. If your preference is EQing for a single seat or that's what you want to do, then you do want to keep those mic groupings tight.
Yeah.
It's going to be averaging in to make sure it's very accurate for that seat.
Yeah. Super cool, man. Appreciate the question there. Weber fan 1234 says, any thoughts on adding solar and battery? This is cool. I never had this question come up. Solar and battery to a household for dedicated home theater power source. So are you guys running solar in your house?
I am.
So would you use, I don't exactly know how that works. If a certain percentage is coming from solar, if it's
I don't really know what his question is trying to get at. Are you only going to power the home theater from solar
and the battery? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we don't use batteries because the cost wasn't right for us. We use our energy provider as a battery. We backfeed whatever we don't use. I'd be worried about the power draw and the amount of power being stored in the batteries, especially if you have subs. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of power being pulled. Yeah. I don't know how fast you'd go through that. I don't know.
You got to realize, you run the risk if you're doing that. You may go to brush your teeth with that electric toothbrush the next day, and you may not be able to use it.
Yeah.
So you might run out.
I don't know. Maybe Weber fan, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
That's an interesting thought, though. Yeah, we've got regular power here. I've thought about solar panels, but
Ryan hit the concern pretty close, right? Because especially if you're using amplifiers, they'll have peak pulls that are really high. Their sustained averages will be very low, but can your battery I'll give you a direct experience. I used to run my home theater off of a UPS, right? And you might see one light of usage, like it barely pulled anything at idle, and then it might go into protect mode and turn off the UPS. And this was like a 2200 VA UPS, so it's not a little baby one. I tried running, this is 15 years ago or something. I tried running my home theater system off of it. And if you had like some sort of dynamic peak, it would just shut the UPS off. So you would have to contend with that with your battery capacity. I mean, if you had a Tesla battery or something, maybe you'd be all right. But
yeah. Yeah. So definitely, I don't know. You may have to even kind of check in with like an electrician. How much are you able to get? Looking at your equipment, how much draw do you have from that? If you've got a bunch of Class D amplifiers, maybe that would help. I don't know, man. That's
for a whole home battery. I think it would be fine, but you're going to be pulling a tremendous amount of power when you're doing that, depending on how big your theater is.
Yeah, especially if you got Ryan's and Jonathan's set up. I'm running one monolith amp, and You guys are running like individual amplifiers, whole bunch of them.
Well, at that time, I was only running a couple like retail subs, so it wasn't even like what we're doing these days, you know. And I was still crippling that. I mean, we're talking that 2200 VA is this big, right?
Yeah.
It's a enterprise type UPS.
Yeah.
And it would struggle there. And that was just with a couple like Jamos or Infinities. I don't remember what I had at the time. So if you had a lot of amps, don't do that. Unless you had, you know, Tesla Powerwall or whatever they got. This isn't my forte. I'll shut up.
Yeah. Some of that, I think we're kind of guessing. Before we go to the next question, here's a good thought. So our W1000, for those of you needing Dirac license, Dirac will be having 30% off again this year, 11/21 through 11/25.
Is that an annual thing? I'm not familiar with that.
I haven't seen that before.
I think it's a one-time thing. I don't think you buy it annually.
Or you mean the sale?
I mean the sale. I mean the sale.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't seen them have the sale before, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's nice for the new Denon and Marantz owners that might want to get in on that. If you can you buy that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even think they can. But like, say for instance, you got the Emotiva and you want to add the Dirac Live. I'm assuming it would apply to even the
I don't know.
What they call that, the bass. Oh goodness.
Live bass control.
Yeah, bass control. So maybe if you're adding that on there.
I don't know.
He says he got his last year for that price last year. Check the AVS Dirac Thread. Gotcha. Very cool. Appreciate the insight. So I love when the community is like, hey, I can save you some money. It's always good.
It's always nice.
Weber fan, with that kind of array, need to be powered by a rack of crown amps. I think we're talking about that massive subwoofer. Is that what we were talking about?
The SPA?
You could go with a bunch of different amp styles. Crown would be one way to do it. The Lab Group and clones are probably the cheapest way. Since you're buying cheap subs, you're probably wanting to buy cheap amplifier power. Not that you couldn't spend more, but if you bought crown amps, you're to get that much power, you're probably going to be spending so much more. The ratio would be insane to get crown amps for that. A Lab Group and clone, you can get a 10,000 or a 14,000 watt amplifier, and if you feed it 230 volt, it'll do it. They'll do it. And so you can buy it. They're Chinese clone amps. You know, you have to feel okay about that. They're ripping off American technology. That's the bottom line. But they're $1,500, and they will do what they say they do because they're just cloning parts. So that will feed. We were kind of doing the math the other day. A 14,000 watt amp would feed like 32 of those pretty easily. And then, you know, if you had 64 of those drivers, you get 2 of those amps. So it'd be $3,000 in amplifiers. $2,000 in subs, spend a couple thousand on boxes for $7,000. You'd probably have one of the most impressive subwoofer systems on AVS forum, period, or in the world for that matter. It's ridiculous.
I'm just picturing CBS News coming. Man blows down rear wall with standing wave.
Oh, what a headline! That's hilarious, man. Justin says, "Sorry, I just signed on. I don't have a lot of room behind my couch. How deep does the box need to be?" So we're talking maybe near field sub here.
Near field sub, it really just needs to be just slightly deeper than the driver itself.
All right, so we're talking about this JBL sub 12-inch driver.
So they're 6 inches deep. They would only need to be the box would need to be about 8 inches deep. It doesn't have to be very deep.
I don't even think you'd have to be 8 inches deep. I think you could probably get by with 7.
So long as here's the one thing, you got to have room for this pole vent to breathe.
Yeah.
So I don't know the exact dimensions. It depends on how thick your front baffle was and stuff, but you need have a little bit of air, a room for that air to breathe.
Yep.
Good question there, man. Christian says, can the latest gaming consoles compete with a dedicated UHD player? So I know I have the PS5. So one downfall with the PS5, and I think they just missed the mark, is they've got their own proprietary kind of audio format. So they don't support Dolby Atmos. You can get, I'm trying to remember, there's something that you can get Dolby Atmos on in the PS5. I can't remember if it's just for gaming or just for streaming. Honestly, I have to go back to my own video. I did that a long time ago when I got the PS5. I think as far as the visual, I think absolutely. I mean, I rocked a PS4 for a long time, and I'd put it up against a player. I don't think digital is digital,
The caveat would be that some of those have tone mapping. Some of the Blu-ray players.
Yeah, like the Panasonics. So
otherwise, yeah, you're fine with a game console player.
Maybe the menu system would get a little annoying, but I think you'd be fine.
Yeah. Daniel says, speaking of TVs with with QLED, crystal LED, ULED, and so on, which is the best in 4K? I have a feeling this is very subjective. So I don't even own a TV. So I am not the expert on this, fellas. Can y'all give some insight to, have y'all had any experience with QLED, crystal LCD, ULED?
OLED, no question.
There's a bunch of different ones out there.
I mean, the variants of OLED, I would say.
QD OLED is kind of the leader right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not a real knowledgeable TV guy either, so I'll refrain from answering this one.
Yeah, Daniel, my recommendation, again, I've mentioned him several times. Definitely check out Stop the FOMO. That's literally his entire channel, is talking about TVs, the different formats, and just kind of educating you on that. So I think he can provide a lot of insight on that. That's just definitely, video is not my area of expertise for sure. I'm definitely more audio side.
A website that's really good, RTINGS, Artines, however you say it. Have you guys seen that website? They do very, very in-depth reviews, and they have pictures of everything to kind of document it, and motion tests and shadow tests, reflection tests. RTINGS.
Ratings.
Without the A.
Without the A, I got you. I'll pull it up here so you guys can see.
Yeah, they do a good job.
And not only do they do a good job on the initial review, but they'll go back and they'll look at them again later and kind of give you a ranking and keep it updated too.
So here's best TVs. All right. So 6 best TVs, fall 2022 reviews. Cool.
Yeah. And so it'll also, like, if you scroll through one of these reviews, say you find a TV you're interested in, it'll tell you better than or worse than type thing. And they'll update it. They'll update these things like once a month and kind of change these levels. So it's not like the information gets static or dry.
Gotcha.
It's fresh all the time.
So like here's a LG C2 OLED. It's got really high reviews, 9 scores, 8 scores.
Yeah, and even showing you like how reflections are handled. So they'll have them in a bright living room and they'll take pictures and show you like how viewing angles are offside, how dark levels are, how the reflections, like, does it make a rainbow on it, or does it, just diminish it, or do you see it like a mirror?
Right.
It's nice site.
Very cool. A lot of pros, cons. Definitely. I like it. So ratings.com without the A. Really good resource there. Appreciate that. Justin says, would 2 of these subs attached to the sofa be better than a cheap transducer?
Different. How cheap? Let's define what kind of transducer. Because if it's a $50 one, then I'm going to say absolutely yes. If it's a $200 one,
I don't really define $200 as a cheap transducer.
Yeah. If he's saying cheap, I'm thinking like the Dayton Audio. Don't they have
Aura shakers?
Yeah, those are kind of like what, $50, $80, something like that.
I feel like the Boss style attachment is going to be more natural than even an expensive transducer until you get to like a $500 range transducer, like the Clarkson, basically is what I'm thinking of. The Clark.
Crowson,
sorry.
Yeah, Clarkson? I'm like, that's
there you go. Crowson. Yes, the Boss is going to have a very natural feel, that style. And those little auras, those $50 auras, if that's what you're talking about, they're just not that strong. I mean, I've used them before. I've tested them, and I didn't even think like I felt like you'd need more than one for a chair, because we did a little round robin like comparison of all of the different ones that were kind of say $50 to $200 10 years ago, and the auras were in there, and some of the Clarks and the butt kicker minis and that kind of stuff, and the little cheap ones. They bottomed out real easy, and they just weren't that impressive until you got a little bit more expensive.
They're great for gaming setups. Like if you're going to mount a couple to your chair and then take the low frequency and get the feel.
Right.
But I don't think they're great for home theater, unless you're mixing them with tactile feel from actual subwoofers.
Gotcha.
They're going to be too jarring if you do them on their own.
TK421 says, I have 29-foot long room by 15-foot wide. So pretty decent size room. 10 foot. So I'm guessing that's his ceiling height. Wanted to put in back surround speakers. Should I put them on the ceiling, the back wall, or the side? The first row is 12 feet from the screen. All right, so you got a large room. You're asking about surround back speakers. Should I put them?
I'd put them on the side.
Yeah, you don't want if you're talking about like in ceiling.
No. So he's saying back surround, fellas, because surround would be the left.
No. I'm saying put them on the side walls. Like he's not going to be able to put them on the unless he can put them freestanding.
Back wall.
Yeah. So if you look at the Dolby spec, your side speakers should be at like 90 to 110 degrees, which is kind of where I've had mine. And then my rear speakers are on the back wall. And my room's not that dissimilar from yours. My room's like 28 feet long or something, and 18 foot wide.
Yeah, but yours are CBTs.
Yeah, but if you're going to use the whole room, why wouldn't you? That's kind of the angle.
I'm worried about the amount of power that he's going to need depending on the type of speaker he's using. That's my worry. Because you're going, let's say he's 12 feet away. It's 30 feet long. That's an 18-foot throw. And that, depending on his speaker, it's going to get exponentially high. So he could always, depending on his AVR or his pre-pro, use them as rear wides. I don't know what the capability is of your decoder.
So my recommendation would just be to use the Dolby. They have their format of how they lay out the speakers, and they have the angles that they recommend. And Dolby's the vast majority of content right now. So I'd kind of look at that for the angles. I can send a link in the private chat, Michael, and you can put that in the public chat.
Okay.
Let me get to the. This one's an AVS form link. I want the actual Dolby link. Stand by.
Yeah, hard part to me, I mean, I know Dolby has, their main site is, I guess there's different layouts that makes it a little confusing,
TK421, what speakers do you have? Because I'm with Jonathan that putting them on the rear wall is definitely the best. I'm just worried that you're going to overdrive something with them that far away.
All right, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Here you go, guys.
So this one's the 7.1.4 setup, but they will also have these diagrams for all their other layouts, like a 5.1.2 or a 9.1.6 type stuff. And you can see if you scroll down in the PDF, the very first thing tells you your angles. And so they're basically telling you, hey, this is how we kind of expect your speakers to be, and anything off this is not going to be as optimal. So I would recommend going to the angles.
Yeah, but he could put those on the sidewalls.
If the angles play out, but he's got a real narrow room, so it's going to be hard to get 150-degree angle on the sidewalls in a real long room. Probably narrow and long.
Yeah.
To do the angles, let me go grab a little device real quick. I'll be right back. Okay. Hopefully I have it handy. There's a tile layer device that I'm thinking of that I've used in here to set my angles, and it has a little, effectively like a little.
Is it a laser?
Compass on the bottom and a laser. So you put it at 0 facing your front center, and then you just set the angle, and it will tell you like 270 degrees or whatever, and you turn the laser on, and where it's on the wall, that's that's your angle. And so you can use that to kind of lay out your speakers and get right on the money.
Where'd you get that from?
Oh, Home Depot has them and so forth. Actually, let me just find one on Amazon and I'll link it for you.
There you go. Yeah, that would come in super handy, because I know you can download like an app on your phone that's got angles, and you're like, because I've done that with mine. I'm like, okay, they get you pretty close to that. Having a laser would be sweet. Can definitely see that being beneficial.
I'm gonna step away and be right back because maybe I don't know what to call it. Because I'm not finding it on Amazon. I know they exist, but I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll go ahead and jump to the next question, and we'll come back to TK's.
Is he talking about a protractor with a laser?
Pretty much. Jay Cameron says, can I use my Shure SM57 to calibrate instead of the wimpy AVRs microphone? All right. I'll tell you what, we're going to hit pause. We'll come back to that question. Looks like Jonathan's already.
Are you talking about a protractor with a laser?
So is this going to show up very well on the camera? I don't know. So basically you've got, 0, 45, 90, 45. And so you set this on your, I just set it on my center seat at 0.
Right.
And then if I want, say 155 degrees, I just match this to 155 degrees and I turn the laser on.
Yeah, sure.
And it shines on the wall, right? You know exactly where that angle is. It's called straight line laser level 120. So they probably have all kinds of things like that. But I found that very helpful in setting up my room initially. I'll see if I can find it on Amazon and link it.
Level 1.
Straight dash line laser level 120.
Yeah, it looks like Lowe's carries them. Amazon, Home Depot sells them. Lowe's sells them.
What are they, $20 or something? What do they cost?
No, let's see. Straight line laser. Well, what's weird is okay, here we go. That is unavailable at my location. That doesn't help. Let's look at straight line on. Yeah, see, I see the Home Depot one. $20 on eBay. Looks like there's different like models of them, but the one that you showed,
a laser grader.
Don't know.
I don't know what they're called.
They just call it a laser level. At least this one on eBay is.
Yeah, they're very specifically what they're for is for laying tile, because they also pivot this way. Can you see that doing that?
Yep.
So what you do is you set your tile up, and you want to make sure that it's flat the whole way, right? That you don't have a raise or a slope in there. Sure. And it's not just like a single point of laser. It's like a line that gradiates out at an angle. And so it just validates that you're flat the whole way across. So as you're kind of laying it out, you know what you're doing. And then you can get your angles right for your intersections and all that. It's for tile layers. So that might help.
Weber Fan says it's a phaser laser.
Nice.
I love it. Super cool. Jay Cameron says, can I use my Shure SM57 to calibrate instead of the wimpy AVRs microphone?
No.
Yeah,
unlikely.
So unfortunately, it's hard to use. Even, I mean, like you wouldn't be able to use a UMic 1 as your actual Odyssey calibration microphone.
You need to use that microphone because that's what it's set up for and to use with.
And you even have to be careful of using, like if you've got a microphone that you use on, say, an old Denon, and let's say you upgrade to a latest greatest Denon, that may not necessarily use that same microphone. So you even sometimes they have different model. As long as it's the same model number, you should be fine. But there are different model numbers for the different, Odyssey microphones. So you got to be careful that you don't use, other ones. And you definitely don't want to use like one from a different brand. Just because it has the same connector, the 3.5 millimeter jack, doesn't mean it's going to work well with your setup. So yeah, unfortunately, they're cheap microphones, but they do a decent job. Last couple questions here for the night. Chris Stovall says, I live in a 1-bedroom open concept apartment and he doesn't want to disturb his downstairs neighbors. Would attaching an open air driver to my chair provide enough shake? Is this the best solution? So lives in an apartment, trying to be, respectful of his neighbors.
I like you.
What are some good options there?
Good on you, Chris.
That tactile base, but won't disturb them. So I actually ran into this at Nick, at his house. He lives in that pretty much that same setup. And so he can't have massive, he does have a subwoofer, but he doesn't have big subwoofers, and he doesn't crank it up super loud, but he added, I'd have to go back to the video, but he has some kind of tactile transducer to his chairs. So it gives that vibration, but they don't hear it downstairs. So, what would be some other like good ways to do that?
Near field.
Well, yeah, still makes bass.
Yeah. That's still going to travel.
Direct attach, tactile transducers, Crosons.
So the open air driver that you have is really solid because it doesn't make any sound. If it's open air, the front waves and the rear waves are canceling each other out, and you don't get any sound. You'll get the feel, but you won't have any sound. So great, that's perfect for what you need.
And the whole point of that.
Yeah. You could also do like a Krausen that would give you kind of that up and down feel. They're $500 a piece, and you need one per chair. But those are
vibrating the floor. You may hear that down below,
like a rabbit thumping or something, huh?
I don't know.
I don't know either. The Boss shouldn't do enough vibration to go through the floor, though. You should be good with that one.
John Smith says, "Hey, Youth Man, I have an Onkyo RZ50. So that's one of the new Onkyo receivers. And I have 2 clip subwoofers, the R120 SWs. How can I hook up the JBL GX series subwoofer to my setup?" So he's wanting to do that in addition. Would he just use like a simple Y splitter, go into an amplifier, and then go into the JBLs? What would you recommend there?
Yes, but it's not going to be time aligned.
Right. Be best to use like a mini DSP to do that?
It would be, and it gets a lot more complicated doing that. But yes, he absolutely can do exactly the Y splitter
scenario there. How would you set it up if you had 2 clip subwoofers or any 2 subwoofers, and you wanted to provide some of that Boss element with the JBL?
I would personally run both my clips off one of the subwoofer outs, assuming you have 2 subwoofer outs, and just make sure the equidistance from the main listening position. So that's your subwoofer 1. Your subwoofer 2, you could dial it in probably well enough to be enjoyable with just the distance delay on the receiver subwoofer 2 channel. So that's avoiding mini DSP and keeping it real simple.
Gotcha.
If you want to really dial it in, we've talked about this in the past, you need like 100 of a second increment to really get it perfect. Yeah. And that's going to be mini DSP territory because your receiver doesn't have that fine level detail. But I do think you could get good enough to be enjoyable with the receiver and the open air sub.
So really, it depends on how far down the rabbit hole and how much time do you want to devote to this and getting it right, and how close do you want to get to being, really, really accurate. That'd be fun though, man. Good thing they're cheap.
Yeah, absolutely worth experimenting, even if you don't want to do the mini DSP, because I especially if you don't know any better. I mean, if you haven't experimented with it, you might just think, this is fantastic and just not care. And so leave it there and enjoy it. Yeah.
Another thought here. Dirk says he mentioned the Orlex Subdued. So would that help isolate, or would that, I would still think on a regular subwoofer, then that would, I wonder if he was talking about putting that underneath the couch. That may help. I don't know.
So the Subdued stuff, those ISO pads, they're still the acoustic energy that the driver's creating. It helps dampen any vibration from the cabinet, but it doesn't do anything for the acoustic energy. So you're going to shake their cabinets downstairs just as if it wasn't on an ISO pad. Now, what you could do is a lot of the receivers have like a night mode, which eliminates the lowest frequencies, basically. And the lowest frequencies, acoustic frequencies, travel further the longer the wavelength is. And so your lowest frequencies, it just cuts those out because those are the ones that travel the most. So that's something you could do if you're worried about your neighbors.
Yeah. Well, super cool, man. Answer a lot of great questions tonight. Jonathan, as always, man, we're glad to have you on here anytime. You provide an incredible amount of knowledge and wisdom, as well as just personal experience in a lot of different setups. And Ryan, of course, you as well. I like being not the smartest guy in the room, man. I just surround myself with people who know more than I do. And sometimes I just sit back and I learn. This is the home theater hobby is not about being the expert, in my opinion. At least that's what I do on my channel. I don't ever want to come across as like I've got all the answers. I don't have all the answers. But the cool thing is surround yourself with people who know more than you, and you continue to learn and then pass that information on to the next guy so that, that this hobby is being propelled forward and we're all helping each other. And I love the community aspect that we're trying to grow here on my channel. So just a little caveat. So this coming up Sunday, I will actually be in the Philippines. I'm taking a trip where Jessica and I are heading over to the Philippines on Thursday, and super excited about that. I've been out of the country before, but I've never been like across the world The furthest I've ever been was down to Colombia, down in South America. That was for my previous job. I went down there to make some video content for our organization, our ministry. And so this is cool for me, man, but that's like an 18-hour flight. Some layover kind of stuff too, but
it's a long way.
But we're so excited, man. So I'm going to make kind of like a video leading up to that. I'm probably going to do like a vlog of me and Jessica along that journey, just to capture that memory and share that with you guys. And then we'll be making some content for an installer over there. And so we're just super, super excited about that. That's going to be cool. I never dreamed that God would open up opportunities like this for me to experience. He's provided great friendships with Ryan, with Jonathan. I get a chance to fly all around the US and visit some of you guys in your home theaters and get to know you. And, I don't know anybody else really that has heard so many different setups. And I'm grateful, to be honest with you. I'm really grateful that, like I said, God has just opened up the opportunity for me to do that, to share my passion for home theater and music and movies with you guys, hopefully to be an inspiration to you to build something really cool in your setup. And so we're hopeful that the videos that we make here on the channel, the live streams that we do here on Sunday night, will help you in some way, shape, or fashion, and that we can just be a blessing to you. So hope you guys have an incredible week. Guys, y'all got anything else?
Not really. If anybody needs anything for Black Friday, feel free to hit me up. We'll see if we can do it, get you on a price point that's maybe beating anybody else.
Very cool, man. So if you got any home theater needs, reach out to Ryan at ascendav.net. He'll get you some pricing and availability. Appreciate the encouraging words. I'm just looking through the chat, a couple things. Have a great trip, man. Appreciate it. It's going to be awesome, man. I'm really, really excited about that. M-Wave's a great event. Absolutely. We'll be talking about that pretty soon. We're still making some final plans for that, and then we'll start promoting it pretty soon. Philippines is life-changing. We'll have a different view for American lifestyle. Absolutely. And Wayne is an incredible dude, man. Wayne Pomposa. This is kind of cool. So a while back, I saw a video. This was probably been over a year ago. A gentleman by the name of Doug Kramer, used to be a basketball player, and he was the first customer for JTR to receive, to buy JTR and get shipped to the Philippines. And Doug's got a crazy setup, man. Crazy setup. Lots of JTR speakers. And so I reached out to Doug originally and I said, "Hey, Doug," I said, there's a guy that's wanting to fly me over to the Philippines and make some content for him. And he's like, "Is it Wayne Pomposa? Because if it is, he's the only guy that I would trust calibrating my system." And I said, "That's all I need to know." I didn't want to get over there and like get mugged or get kidnapped or sold into slavery. I don't know. You just never know.
Mercy.
Nah, I was just teasing, but he vouched for him. He's like, "Look, man, Wayne's a super, super great guy." And so I'm excited to meet him and his team and to see what he's doing over in the Philippines, propelling the home theater, people getting them set up with their dream systems. And he's designing some really, really cool stuff over there. So I'll be doing some interview type of stuff, do a home theater tour of his setup there at their facility. And then we're going to take a day and drive over. I think Doug's probably about 45 minutes from Wayne. And so we're going to drive over to Doug's house, hang out with him and his family. I think his YouTube channel is called Team Kramer. So you can check that out. If you even look up Team Kramer and type in JTR, you'll see his setup is pretty crazy. So I'd love to do a home theater tour of his setup and have him share about his journey in home theater. So lots of fun stuff coming up. I've got lots of reviews. We've got a Mad VR that just came in, the Mad VR Extreme. Just came yesterday. Lots of crazy stuff, man. Some cool stuff that we'll be making some content on the channel. So make sure you subscribe. So, well, guys, I hope y'all have an incredible week. We'll end the broadcast here. We do this every week, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I hope y'all have an incredible week. God bless. We'll catch you in the next video.